It was a ghost, a machine from the future, found in the tomb of the past. For 2,000 years it slept in the crushing dark of the sea floor, a secret kept by the silence of the abyss. When it was finally brought into the light, it presented us with a paradox so profound it fractured our understanding of the ancient world. The chronicles of history are written in stone and steel, in pottery and parchment. They tell a story of gradual progress, but this was different. This was a whisper of a forgotten timeline, a world where the Industrial Revolution might have begun with Caesar. You are about to meet the most complex piece of technology recovered from the ancient world, an object so advanced, so out of place, that for decades no one could believe it was real. This is the story of a 2,000-year-old computer that simply shouldn't exist. Imagine you are there, in the year 1900. You are a sponge diver. Your name is Elias Stadiatos, and you are working the treacherous waters off the Greek island of Antikythera. Your world is one of burning lungs and the immense, silent pressure of the deep. On a dive to a depth that pushes the very limits of human endurance, your eyes catch something through the murky blue. A shipwreck. But as you explore the ancient ruin, you see them. Not amphorae, not coins, figures. Pale, ghastly human forms scattered across the seabed. You surface, gasping, terrified, babbling to your captain about a heap of dead, naked women. What you saw were not bodies. They were the bronze and marble statues of the wreck, their divine forms haunting the darkness. And when the archaeologists came to recover those statues, they found something else. A lump of corroded bronze, misshapen by centuries of oceanic decay, mistaken for little more than a rock. That rock was brought to the National Archaeological Museum in Athens, and there it sat. For 2 years it was just another piece of wreckage, unworthy of note. But then the rock cracked open, and inside the world saw the impossible. Not sand, not stone, but a complex web of interlocking gears, precision-cut teeth, wheels within wheels, dials covered in inscriptions so tiny they could barely be read. The pact of the sea was broken, and a secret that had been kept since the time of the Roman Republic was now exposed. The gears were a message, and what they said was this: "You think you know our world. You know nothing." The initial reaction was denial. It had to be a mistake. Perhaps a modern instrument, a ship's clock, had fallen overboard onto the ancient wreck. The thought that Romans, in the age of sandals and swords, could create something this intricate, it was heresy. It violated the sacred timeline of progress, but the evidence was undeniable. The object was fused to the artifacts around it. It had come from the deep. It had come from the past. The silence that followed in the halls of history was heavier than any mountain. For the next 70 years, scientists stared at these fragments, trying to decipher the ghost's language. They used X-rays, then advanced CT scanners, peeling back the layers of corrosion, digitally reconstructing the machine's heart. And the truth they uncovered was more staggering than anyone had dared to imagine. This was not just a clock. This was the cosmos in a box. More than 30 distinct hand-cut bronze gears were interlinked in a system of breathtaking sophistication. At its heart was a differential gear, a device so complex that historians believed it wasn't invented until the 16th century. You've seen one before. It's what allows the wheels of your car to turn at different speeds around a corner. And here it was, ticking away in a world lit by oil lamps. What did this bronze mind do? It didn't just track the day or the month. It modeled the heavens with a poet's soul and a mathematician's precision. Turn the single knob on its side, and the universe would play out before your eyes. A dial on the front showed the position of the sun and the moon against the zodiac. as well as the 5 planets visible to the naked eye: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. But it was the machine's deeper knowledge that was so unsettling. It accounted for the subtle variations in the moon's orbit, its elliptical path causing it to speed up and slow down. The inventors had translated this celestial anomaly into the language of gears, using a brilliant pin and slot mechanism to perfectly mimic the lunar motion. This wasn't just observation. This was a profound mechanical understanding of the laws of nature. 2 large dials on the back were the machine's oracles. One was a Saros dial, a 223-month cycle that could predict solar and lunar eclipses with unnerving accuracy. Think of what that means. To a world that saw a darkened sun as a terrifying omen from the gods, this machine offered the power of prophecy. The other dial was a calendar for the Panhellenic Games. It told you not just the date, but when the next Olympic Games would be held, a decision that would shape the fate of a city-state or a truce in a war began with the simple, steady turn of a bronze crank. The pact was broken. The will of the gods was no longer a mystery. It was a calculation. But this raises the great riddle. Who possessed this divine knowledge? No signature was ever found. The inscriptions are a roadmap, but the mapmaker is a phantom. For decades, the creators were seen as anonymous geniuses, a lost school of brilliance, but there are whispers in the ancient texts. The Roman statesman Cicero, writing in the 1st century BC, the very same time the Antikythera ship sank, describes 2 similar machines. He wrote of a bronze sphere that modeled the heavens, a device so clever it could replicate the motions of the sun, the moon, and the 5 planets. And he gives us a name. The creator of these legendary devices was the greatest mind of the ancient world, Archimedes of Syracuse. Archimedes, the man who shouted "Eureka," who designed weapons of war that held the Roman legions at bay. He was not just a mathematician, he was a master of mechanics. His work was 2,000 years ahead of his time. He was killed in 212 BC, decades before the Antikythera mechanism was built. But the specific genius in this device, the way it translates complex astronomical theory into elegant mechanical motion, it carries his intellectual DNA. The consensus today is that this machine was not built by Archimedes himself, but it is the last surviving creation of his school of thought, a tradition passed down from the master. You are not looking at the work of an anonymous craftsman. You are looking at the legacy of a legend, and this reveals the final, deepest truth of the mechanism. This wasn't built to be a simple tool. It was a philosophical statement. Why build it? To track the planets. But why track the planets? To prove that the universe was not the chaotic whim of petty gods. It was a cosmos, an ordered, understandable, predictable system, a grand and glorious clockwork, and humanity, through reason and mathematics, could grasp its design. This machine was an act of supreme intellectual confidence, perhaps even hubris. It was an attempt to capture the mind of God in a cage of bronze. And then it was gone. The ship, likely sailing from Rhodes to Rome, laden with Greek treasures for some wealthy Roman patron, foundered in a storm. And with it, this pinnacle of mechanical knowledge was lost to the world. It did not inspire a new generation of inventors. It did not spark an industrial revolution. Its secrets were swallowed by the sea. For the next 100 years, nothing approaching its complexity would be made by human hands. It was a book of knowledge that was thrown into the ocean on the eve of the final exam. A millennium and a half of progress sunk. The Antikythera mechanism is not just a scientific curiosity. It is a profound lesson about history itself. It teaches us that our story is not a simple, linear march of progress. It is a fragile thing, filled with forgotten peaks of genius and vast, silent valleys where knowledge is lost. It is a testament to what can be achieved, and a terrifying reminder of what can be erased. For 2 millennia, it waited, a silent prophet in a watery grave. It waited for a civilization that could finally look at its gears and understand the cosmic dream of its creators. It is the ghost of a world that might have been, a haunting echo of a timeline where the stars were conquered not with rockets, but with clockwork.